All right. Okay, I think we're in good shape now. Should be recording, hopefully. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the basics first, and then we'll get into discussing the first project, maybe get a chance to start to work on the first project a little bit. Um, this is right where I'm saying right here, this first screen. These are the main three file types, right? In SolidWorks, you remember we did, because most of you, we did just the basics last semester when you had this class. It was part files, assembly files, and drawing files. We did examples of all of those in class. Part files are really just the individual pieces that go into, an assembly file. Not that you have to always be working in an assembly file. When you guys, again, I'm saying you guys because nearly all of you had my class last semester, but no, I'm gonna give you guys all trauma here, but remember the lanterns from last semester that we are all, everybody, we built this last semester piece by piece in SolidWorks, brought it all together and did some nice renderings and stuff. So, this is an example of, these are all the individual parts. Although what we did, which still makes the most sense, when you know that you're gonna have a lot of parts that need to go together and they all need to fit perfectly together, just as we did, we built this as one part file that was just comprised of whatever, 10 different solid bodies that were in that one part file. That's still the smartest way to build when you know things have to have perfect tolerance from piece to piece instead of building a bunch of individual part files separately and then hoping they all fit together in an assembly. You should just go ahead and build them as one big part file and then just split out the parts that you need if you actually need to create an assembly file based off of those. So that's what we did last semester. Just a quick refresher. I'm not going to bring up any of the files. And then, some drawings and things like that that went along with that. So tonight, what we haven't done yet is we haven't done many like unusual shapes, surface shapes, surface-based modeling, right? This was all pretty standard stuff we did. These are all solid feet, solid bodies that we made when we created each of those parts before. We didn't do any crazy surfaces, any sort of organic shapes. So that's one of the first things we're going to start to work on tonight is just to getting you started to be comfortable building in surfaces and then turning those into solids and carving them up and doing some unusual things with them. So I've got SolidWorks going right now, 2025. I am going to start with just a standard part file, just because initially all we're going to be doing is just kind of messing around here a little bit. I'm not really going to be building anything unusual. As far as the interface goes, right up here, yours probably says basic modeling tools, and it might just say features right now. And again, because it doesn't say features at all, it just says basic modeling tools. I also, let me ask you too, in the upper right corner, has it already started a new sketch? Does it look like it's already started a new sketch? Yeah. So that's something different that I noticed in this new 2025. Go ahead and exit out of the sketch for a second, because I don't think we always want to just immediately start into a new sketch. That doesn't make sense. So just exit out of that, kill that in the upper right corner. And let's go right up here to your options first. It's the little gear looking thing on the top middle options. The one that says, I think, yeah, here it is. Under system options, and then click on the word sketch. And one of those choices says, probably is a checkbox besides create sketch on new part. Just uncheck that because we don't want it to just start creating a new sketch every time we open up a new part. So you can uncheck that one if you want. Sometimes I like this one, the auto, since we got all these options open, this one about auto rotating the view, normal to sketch plane when you're starting a new sketch on something. I don't know, sometimes that's beneficial. Sometimes it's kind of a pain that every time I start a new sketch on something, it rotates the whole model around. So I'm looking just straight, planar onto that surface that I'm trying to create a new sketch on. If you want to change that, if you don't like that down the road, then that's where you could change that, is just going to the sketch there and unchecking that first auto rotate button up there. So it's up to you. I'm going to leave mine off as you see it here for now. Say okay. All right, good. The other thing, which I find kind of annoying because I use this tool a lot, in fact, we're going to use it, quite extensively tonight, If you recall, in the sketch tool before, the upper left sketch tool, there used to be, and if I open a 2024, you'd see, not only does it usually say sketch up there, but there's usually a black triangle right underneath it so that you can also open a 3D sketch, right? It's not there right now, which I find annoying. I don't know why they've done that. But there's multiple ways to add a 3D sketch tool to our toolbar because it is something we're going to use pretty frequently. So one way is to let's do it. Let's do it. I'll show you one way first, and then I'll show you the other way. Just if you wanted to do it. So if you go to your the little search window up here, right? Click on that little search commands there, and just start typing 3D sketch, and you'll see the name comes up there. Not getting what the when you type in 3D sketch, what's your make sure you make sure you need the one that says commands, like yeah. Mine said commands automatically, but so yeah, start typing in 3D sketch or 3D, and then 3D sketch comes up, right? So that's one way. Already I'm in 3D sketch mode right now. If I wanted to be, I should be. Let me just double check and see. Yeah, all right, I am. So that's one way to get to 3D sketch. We didn't even need to find the tool up there. We can just start typing it in. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to discard. It doesn't necessarily appear all the time. I would have to kind of do that every time, which is kind of pain. I'd rather it just be always, kind of visible up there. So the other way is to add a tool to one of our toolbars, right? And you can do that just by going to I'm right clicking over my basic modeling, toolbars here, and I can just go to customize. So you get this big floating window here. Hold on, let me hide this for a second. You get this big floating window here, and you want the one that says commands.
Right click your bar.
Yes, I right click and chose customize. Is that working for you, Ben? Right click, I right clicked. Oh, well, let me close this off here. I right clicked over here and then I chose customize.
Okay.
Yeah. Essentially, we're just customizing, the toolbars. We can customize any toolbar, but this one is the one we want to customize. So then once this floating customize window is up, I can go to commands. You want to go down to, there's quite a long list here. Go to the one that says sketch. Like that. You see a bunch of icons here. You're looking for this one, the actual 3D sketch button. And I would just grab it and just drag it right onto the where you want to put it. I'm going to put it right up beside my sketch button there. And just say okay, because we're done. So now you've just customized your toolbar. You can do this with any tools. If you find you're using a lot of tools frequently, but they're just, you're always having to go looking for them, that's how you can do that. As far as the other menus available right now, most of you said that basic modeling tools is the only one that you see. I use these other three. Actually, I don't need that one open. That's a duplicate.
Right.
Yes.
Then look at the sketch toolbar. We are getting 3D sketch. In the sketch toolbar, it's the same thing.
Oh, they see what they did. Yeah. So they they created this is new. The name of this one is new, basic modeling tools. So I guess what they've done is they've simplified. Remember, this 25 just came out. So they have the 3D sketch is still under sketch, but it's not under basic modeling tools. So What else have they changed here? Maybe there's like yeah, I don't know. I guess either one. At least you know how to use it now if you want to. As far as the other toolbars that I keep open, features should be available or, visible, and surfaces should also be available. If you don't see them, again, right click and you want to go to the toolbars and find the surfaces, and the other ones are, what did I say? Oh, features, yeah. Features and surfaces. So just check them, select them to hit the check beside them, and then they should show up there. I actually see what they've done in that basic modeling tools. They've combined, I think. Yeah, they combined some of the favorites all into one sort of toolbar. Whatever. It's okay. Yeah.
Missing, do that, toolbars and I'm missing the services. I mean, that's the features, it's not showing up still.
Tabs. Tabs.
Yeah, tab, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. Did I say toolbars? I didn't mean, yeah, it's the tabs. I'm sorry. I should have said tabs if I said toolbars. Yeah, these are the ones that, again, I would leave on. Most of them, we just don't need because, we're not engineers or something like that. We just need surfaces, features, and either basic modeling or sketch, depending on your preference. All right, so that's messing with the interface again. Nothing too crazy there. A reminder, right, that you are always needing to build, I shouldn't say always, 99% of the time, you need to be building a new sketch on either a plane or a surface of something else, right? Like a cylinder, if I was gonna draw something on the top of this cylinder here and extrude it out, I would need to pick that surface first so I can start to draw on it, and then I can extrude a boss base feature from there. Or select a plane, an empty blank plane, and start to sketch on that and do something with that. The basic three planes that are in here, front, top, and right, they are there always. You just don't always necessarily see them unless you want to turn them on, right? If you, like, I could hit them right now and just hit the little eyeball to make them visible and always kind of visible here. If you find that helpful, just to kind of imagine where all three of these planes are. Okay. Let's see. The interface, these buttons right across the top middle up here. The main ones I would say are definitely the display style, because we kind of go occasionally back and forth between, full shaded with edges versus like a wireframe sort of thing. Sometimes you really need to be able to see through your model, like it's a ghost and you need to be able to see through it. Other times you don't care and you just want to see the outside shape fully shaded. So that's the first choice up there. So we'll do that a little bit. We don't have anything going right now to do a section view, so let's skip that one. And then this last one here is when you click on the little eyeball and the little black arrow beside that, these are all the different things, different objects, different types of things that you can either see or not see. If you needed to just sort of blanket turn everything off, you could just click on the eyeball itself. You see kind of everything disappears. But if there are certain things that you want to make visible or invisible, or then you can just hit those particular ones, like the upper left one here that turns off the visibility of any planes that I've got. So I could just quickly do that if I wanted to. My primary planes. So simple stuff, but stuff we didn't really talk too much about, last semester, but I just want to make sure that you remember and you can use some of the stuff efficiently.
Peter.
Okay.
feedbacks.
Okay, you're gonna take care of this, yeah, so, yeah, because we need to get this working. All right. Okay, yeah, it'd be a good idea to head over to maybe IT or something that can help you. All right, so that's that. The view orientation, while it is here, I generally almost never go up here to click on, one of these front, top, side, whatever sort of view orientation. If I want this viewing cube sort of to pop up, the fastest way, honestly, is just to hit the space bar. I know. To hit the space bar on your keyboard, because that brings it up right then. You don't have to go and click on any buttons, just hit the space bar and it will bring it up. And then you can either click on a particular surface that you want to see, like from a front view or side view or three-quarter view or something like that. You can keep this little floating orientation thing always visible. There is where's it? Like a little, pin thing right here. So right now it's pinned and it's going to stay there. Most of the time, I just kind of am randomly spinning my model. I don't always need to be able to go to a front view or top view or something like that, but these are certainly ways to do it. Okay. Other things that I think are really helpful, the letter F on your keyboard, if you guys remember, that is used, not that we have any objects in here right now, but let's say you're really zoomed in or zoom far out, right? And you're just like kind of need to reset your viewing window here. If you hit the letter F on your keyboard, I always remember like the word fill, like it's sort of like filling my screen. So when you hit F, whatever objects you've got going in your model, it just sort of zooms right out, to just around those particular objects. So that can be really helpful if you just kind of quickly need to zoom back out to the extents of whatever model you're working on, especially if it's a big model. All right, simple stuff. All right, let's start building something, right? As I said, the point tonight is to introduce you to a little bit more advanced surfaces and starting to create something unusual, different than we had before. Most of the time we've been, creating like front plane or top plane and doing a new sketch on those and doing something with that particular sketch, right? And then maybe extruding it up, doing something with it. That only gets you so far, right? Because you're not always building in solid shapes like that. You want to be able to build in, unusual organic shapes too. So let's get rid of this guy and let's build something a little bit more different. So this is why I had to make sure that the 3D sketch was working, because that's the first tool we're going to use is our 3D sketch. And this fly is really annoying the crap out of me right now. So wherever you placed it, whichever toolbar you're on, you're looking for the 3D sketch. So I want you to try that one first. It's not the regular 2D sketch, it's the 3D sketch. And the reason that 3D sketch is pretty nice is that by its nature, it is meant to be able to sketch in three different dimensions, right? Within the same use of the tool. Because normally you click on a plane, right? This doesn't require any planes. You're just sort of clicking anywhere in this whole model space and creating a new shape from that point out. I want you to click on the spline tool, right? That's that little sideways looking S sort of shape. Click on that one for me. And what you should see, if you've got the right tool selected and you're in the 3D sketch, you should see the pencil and you should see an X, Y right below it. That indicates that if I started to draw right now, technically I would be drawing in, and I'm going to say I'm using my hands right now, but if you look in the triad in the bottom left corner of your screen, the three arrows that you see in the bottom down there, Y is always up in SolidWorks space. X is horizontal, kind of off to the right, and then Z is also on the ground plane, but kind of coming at you. So if I was to draw right now with the XY showing, again, using my spline tool, if I start to click sort of create this little roller coaster shape right now. And when I get to the end, I'm right clicking or hitting escape. If you kind of look at it, right? That looks fine. Remember, I'm still in 3D Sketch right now. If I go back and select that same spline tool again, but this time, if you hit the Tab button on your keyboard, you should see the letters switch from XY to YZ. If you hit it a third time, ZX, and each of those is going to relate to, again, what that triad of the three arrows are in the bottom left corner of your screen, right? So ZX right now would mean that if I started to draw some sketch, spline, hit select here at the end. See how it is in my ground plane right now? However, right, we're still in one 3D sketch. I've just got multiple, splines going within this particular 3D sketch, but I certainly have still just one sketch going. Each of these points can be adjusted, very Illustrator-like. You can swing these curves. You can grab any points along them and modify them, reshape them. Eventually, you kind of start messing around with them and they get kind of wonky. So you have to be careful as you are moving points that you're also not completely throwing them off of whatever, axis they were on, not whatever plane they were on. So if I really wanted to keep that particular sketch in the ground plane, right, I would probably be a little bit more careful and go a little bit more straight on so that I could grab the points and make sure I'm being more careful about moving them. You see they stayed in the ground plane better than they were just a moment ago. Still using the same tool, right? Still my spline tool. But this time I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to go YZ. Yep. Because I want to try and connect maybe this point to that end point there. Last one. I'm going to finish this off on the other end. Again, YZ, make sure I'm in YZ. Yeah, I am. So who knows what this is really going to look like in a second? We might need to adjust it. But all I really wanted you to get accustomed to is at least using the 3D sketch tool so that you can create, unusual surfaces. You can still grab, points and move them around if you want to. But, what do we do with this? What's the tool that we're going to need to turn this into something, like an actual surface? The one that we really want to try and use is in this case, probably, let's see if we can get away with it. Sometimes they act a little funky. Can try the boundary surface. We'll see. It might not like this. Depends on the shape. Yeah, it's probably not going to like it. Usually what I try and do is, oh, there it goes. It was grayed out just a second ago. The filled surface is probably the best choice. If it's not available for you, I don't know. Mine was grayed out just a moment ago. It shouldn't have been, but it's not grayed out now. Filled surface. So that one actually, right? So it's giving me something. Boy, I'd really like to clear that fly. No, missed him. The filled surface gives me something. It's not terrible. It just patches a new surface across all those, all those curves there. Yeah, filled surface. Yeah. If it's grayed out, I don't know why mine's grayed out just a second ago. As soon as I clicked on boundary surface and then stopped using boundary surface, suddenly my filled surface became available. I don't know why that was, but yeah. So try filled surface and just click on it. Now, the reason that we're using, that we couldn't use, I'm going to just say, okay, here. The reason that we couldn't do, what's going on now? The reason that we couldn't use the boundary surface just a second ago is because boundary surface was looking for individual sketches. This whole time we've been in one 3D sketch. Even though it had multiple pieces in it, it's been one 3D sketch. If I had created, which I did just before class, just to show you. Oh, I forgot I closed it off to restart SolidWorks. If I had created 4 different sketches, 3D sketches, and then I could have used the boundary surface. So let me just as an example, really quick, you can try this if you want or not, but let's go 3D sketch. I'll show you what I mean. Again, with the spline tool, let's just quickly do a crude sketch this way. I will exit out of that sketch. I'll start a new sketch. I'm sorry, a new 3D sketch. Exit out of that one. You got like a top view first. Just moving it apart from the other ones, just so it's a little bit better space here. Oh, too high too. Well. Make it a little more. There it goes. Come on. Being really picky right now. Again, right? 2 separate sketches right now. Their own 3D sketches. I'll do the ones between them. This one needs to be YZ. One more 3D sketch across there. Again, YZ. I know it looks similar to what we just did a second ago. The big difference here, again, is that these are 4 different 3D sketches, right? So now when I go and try and use that boundary surface tool this time, these 2 boxes, one for direction 1, one for direction 2, I would say if I click, like about here and about the same spot on the other side, that's direction 1, and then direction 2 goes the other way. Okay. So it can be, even though they look, similar in that sense, they're just 2 completely different, surface tools. This one was made off of one single 3D sketch, whereas the boundary surface here was made up of 4 different 3D sketches. So then what do we end up doing with something like that, right? It doesn't help us if just we have a bunch of paper thin surfaces with no thickness to them, right? We can always thicken those up. There is we did this in one tutorial last semester, but we didn't, that was really the only one. Under your surfaces tab, there is the thicken tool right here. So we can click on thicken here, find a surface like this one, for example, click on it. And right now, by default, it's thickening it by 10 millimeters. If I go a little bit thinner, let's say, you have 3 different directions it can go. You can thicken it up, you can thicken it down, or you can thicken it in 2 directions. So that's what these options are, these 3 boxes here. One of them, if you kind of float over it, will say the 3 options. You just need to decide which one is, you thicken it in side one, side two, or both sides. If I accept that, now what you've got is no longer a surface. It is a solid, and we can prove it because there is now in our solid body and surface bodies folder, we have one object in each of them, right? We have the surface, the one that's still sitting back there, and then that thickened one is now in the now in our solid bodies folder. As you know, the beauty of SolidWorks, as opposed to some of the other programs, the other 3D programs that we have at our disposal, is that you can go back and change anything in the history tree, the feature tree over on the left. So let's say, for example, I wanted, some of these curves to maybe not be quite so drastic as they are right now, these roller coaster-like shapes. I just need to find that particular curve that I want to adjust, that 3D sketch. And you click on it and then choose the little pencil, grid paper looking thing for edit sketch. So now that's my sketch there, which I can maybe adjust the curvature of it, greatly reduce it. Actually, hold on a second. I should have been more careful looking at just a side view because there we go. Right, so you can see I've really reduced the amount of curvature to it. And then when I accept that change, it automatically, adjusts everything. The thicken is still there because the thicken came after the original boundary surface was created. All right. I see some curves going from my screen. I can only see one screen right now. I can only see Garami's screen, but have you guys also tried making some of these unusual surfaces and how it seems? Yeah, let me I'll pause the recording so I can kind of walk around and see. Hide. Okay, so simple shapes, right? Let me hide these planes because they're annoying right now for me. This is basic sort of, surfacing things, but you are going to want to be able to do something a little bit more unusual with it. And that means being able to cut some of these surfaces up and do something, different with them or add on to them somehow. So let's do something. It really doesn't matter which one you're going to do it with. I'm going to use this particular one here, this surface here, right? Because I thickened it. It really doesn't, again, matter which one you want to do. But what I want you to try, we're going to take a surface and essentially we're going to copy this surface right in its place with like zero thickness or whatever, but we're going to copy it. And then we're going to use that as a new surface to start a new, object or whatever. So just kind of follow along and see what I'm talking about. In your surfaces tab, one of the choices says offset surface. Okay, so I want you to click on that one. Pick a surface like, this one, for example, for me is the one I'm going to click on, this top surface here. The whole thing lights up. It lights up and it's, offsetting by 10 millimeters, as you can see over on your left side. I don't want it to offset with any thickness. I want a duplicate of where it is, of that particular surface where it is right now. So I'm just going to highlight that 10 and type in 0. All right, so now what it's done, not only does it not say offset surface anymore, in the upper left corner, it actually says copy surface, because that's really what we wanted to do, is just copy this as a brand new surface. So just say, okay. And what you should see, just again, just to double check, you should see in your surface bodies folder a new surface that's sitting there called surface offset 1, probably is what it says, offset 1. And that's the one that's just kind of sitting there right now, perfectly in line with the surface it was just copied from. So now is a good time that we're going to do something with this, right? Imagine like, I don't know, like I want something kind of to follow the shape of this crazy surface we created, but it's going to be a smaller area within it, like a circle. Like if I look at this from like a top view, if I dropped a big circle into the middle of this and then sort of trimmed away everything else, I would be left with a circle, yes, but the circle would have the bottom of it would follow this particular contour. So let's just do that. It's something simple like that. Go to, for me, and I'm sure it's probably you need to find a plane that's kind of looking down on your surface. So for me, it's my top plane. So I can click on my top plane. I can grab my sketch tools, any of them, doesn't really matter. And I'll just grab a circle just to keep it simple. And I'm just going to drag out a big, oops, I didn't mean to grab a small one. I meant to grab a big one here. There it goes. Big circle. It does not matter that it is sort of cutting through that surface right now, because really all we're going to be doing is using this 2D circle here to cut away everything else around it, leaving just the circle portion in the middle. But that's, again, all we need right now is just a circle, just a 2D circle drawn. Like I said, it does not matter that it's cutting through anything else down here. So just exit out of that sketch for me. Okay, you can see it's kind of floating there. Let me hide this. So back to your surfaces now, because we're going to try and trim away a big chunk of that offset surface we created just a second ago. So I want you to use a new tool up here called Trim Surface. The first thing it asks for in this blue box is, what is your trimming tool going to be? That's our circle. So we're going to click on that blue box and click on our little 2D circle sitting there. You will see as you move around the offset surface, depending on which side of the circle you're on. If you're on the inside, it's glowing orange. If you're on the outside, that's glowing orange. What's most important is your choice over here. See these two little radio buttons over here, one that says keep selection, the other one says remove selection. It honestly doesn't matter which one you choose. What's more important is which side of the offset surface you want to try and cut away. Like, for example, if I said remove selection, as mine does right now, it's got that little checkbox beside remove selection, then I would be clicking on the outside portion, because that's the section, that's the selection that I want to remove, right? So I'm going to leave remove selection on. I'm going to click on this outside area here, and then I can just right click. That's what the little thumbnail means. I can right click or hit enter, right? So whether you realize it or not, it's just taken that offset surface and cut away everything else except the area in the middle, right? That's it right there. That's what I'm left with. And then we can do something with that. We can thicken that up. Eventually, if you go too big, it might cross over itself. So you just got to be careful. Also, this is the first time we've needed to think about the merge result checkbox. As you may recall, whenever the merge result checkbox is on, as it is right now, whatever we create is going to be, merged into the previous, shape that it's sitting on. If that's what you want, great. If you want these to be one solid, single body, that's what you do. You leave that on. If you want them to be completely separate objects, separate solid bodies, then you uncheck that. And now if I say, okay, I have two solid bodies in my folder up here. The first thicken object and the second thicken object. Okay. I mean, sometimes it's helpful. It depends. Well, where it really is useful is in Keyshot, right? If you were to take this into Keyshot now, you would be able to very easily apply two completely different materials, to that inner piece versus the outer piece versus if it was one big piece, you kind of have a bit of an issue trying to separate that out, in Keyshot. But right now, because they're separate bodies, then I could apply different materials to each of these solid bodies in Keyshot. One of when I showed you last class, the shell chair, right, that we're going to be building eventually. We use this tool several times in that particular series of demos is the offset surface and cutting and trimming, trimming surface. Okay. Things like adding fillets and stuff like that. You can go in and add like a little fillet around here, soften things up, whatever. If your fillet isn't showing up, it depends on how big or small, your object is, because we haven't really been given dimensions to any of these. This object happens to be pretty good, large, so a 10 millimeter fillet is showing up on mine. You might need to go really small with yours, depending on how big your object was to begin with. Okay. So that's a little surface crash course and realizing that you now have at your disposal creating 3D sketches and using those 3D sketches to create objects that are in three different dimensions, not just extruding, circles and extruding rectangles and things like that, that you can really create unusual shapes pretty quickly if you just learn to control the 3D sketch curves. All right. Some of these other surface tools we will get into as we do some of the demos, but I always like sort of just talking about that one first and building something unusual. So, okay. And it kind of gets you back into understanding three dimensions again with different planes and front, top, and right plane. So. Okay, let's switch gears and we're going to start to talk about the first project. I told you guys that I like doing the remote control project with my students, and we are doing a remote control again, but I told you last class that the difference this time is that I'm going to give each of you the assembly file, essentially the guts of remote control, and we're all going to design around it. So the thinking is we're pretending that we are designers working for a design firm, and our client, in this case, is RCA. I took apart a remote control that I don't use at home anymore. It's like a universal kind of remote control. But if I kind of reassemble it for a second so you see what it looks like, and then it'll make more sense what I'm about to describe to you. Let me get everything in here. So let's say RCA came to you and they said, we want you to reuse our circuit board that is in here. I need to reassemble this a little bit better. They say, we want to reuse our circuit board that's inside of this, but we really think that our remote control is kind of boring, right? It's basic rectangle, has almost no shape to it, even on the side, except for this one little cut across the back, just so somebody can stick their finger in there. We are going to be designing essentially on the fly, not that you couldn't do some sketches, but we're just going to be designing on the fly, right in SolidWorks, creating new curves, an entirely new, outside, shape for this, except we're going to be reusing the printed circuit board that does come with this. I've already built the circuit board. I've already built the LED bulb, which I'm going to give you those files. And I also built the batteries, which again, all this was really simple. It took me, half an hour to build all these pieces and just stick them all together. I'll show you before I even give you the file, just kind of, because I want you all to kind of look and see how I built them. So you can kind of see, again, nothing crazy here, but for example, the circuit board, I know. Here's the circuit board, which you can see was nothing more than one sketch. Let me go to the top view so you can see, because that's really the most important view of this. The circuit board was just a big rectangle. I had my calipers, I measured everything off, snapped a couple dimensions, drew some circles, right? Cut a notch in the front up here with my sketch. And it was just one feature, one boss extrude feature. So there wasn't anything too crazy about that. Had some little chamfers on the corners and things. So that's an easy one. Right. Then the second piece I built was the little LED light that sits on the front of this. There's so many ways to build this. I could have built this like as a profile view and spun it 360 degrees. I chose to build this as the initial sort of round base sitting down here, then another base coming off the top, which if I move my history bar back, you'll see what I actually did here. I went tall with it, and then I just added a big fillet right across the top. Okay, so that's an easy one there too. And then, oops, didn't mean to do that. And then the last one was the battery. I know, shut up. The battery was just a single extrusion, a little extrusion off of one end, another extrusion off the back end, and then a little fillet. So that's my little AAA battery there. Then I took all those pieces and brought them into an assembly file, which is this guy here. Yeah, sure. Come on. Need to go, let me hide this for a second. Yeah, sorry. Come on. Mhm. Okay, well, let me go to like just this wireframe mode. You can see there's the circuit board. Actually, let me just do this. It's probably easier just to delete this, because that's really what I have to give you anyway. Context feature. Say yes. Yeah, okay. That's really what I want to give you anyway. I'm just going to resave this so I can put it onto Canvas for you guys. But you can see it's just there's my circuit board. That's the first piece I brought in. Then I dropped in the LED. I did add a couple mates there. Let me expand this out a little bit. There's a couple mates in here to make sure that the LED ended up snapping exactly how I wanted it to. I'll kind of show you the first one. There's a coincident mate essentially between the backside of the LED bulb and the inside face of that little notch taken out. That's the first mate that I added. The second mate was to the center, like the two planes. You can see like the mid plane of the LED bulb and the mid plane of my circuit board. That's the two orange and purple lines that you see there. And then the last one, again, just to keep it vertically lined up, I use a new plane, a new mate between the middle plane of my LED and the mid plane, like top plane essentially of the circuit board. So got those lined up. And then the two bulbs back here. I brought in one and just kind of lined it up the way I needed it, and then I could mirror it over to the other side to get the other one and just kind of line them up with each other. The coincident is just I want to make sure that the two ends line up with each other there, and then the same on the other side. Oh no, this one was mid planes, top planes for both of these to get them to the same height. So this would be pretty typical of, an engineer or whoever your client RCA would come in and give you this file and say, give us a new design, but use this as the starting point. So let me resave this, and then I'm going to put this on Canvas for you guys to all get to it. Let's call this. Five. Save. Yes, sure. Okay, that should be it. Let me just double check. Oh yeah, that's the one anyway that we don't need. Okay, I'm just looking for, there's no asterisks in any of these that tells me that they've been saved, so we're all good. All right, so once you go to Canvas, and I'm gonna put all these files that you need on Canvas. It's going to be you need all the files. In order to open up an assembly file, because you haven't done too many assembly files yet, you're gonna need all the files, each of those individual parts that you saw me. This is, don't show this again. Let's go here. And modules, remote control. Let's just do it this way, actually.
And also don't have access to it.
Oh, I know why, because you guys aren't really technically in this number, like, because you're, as grad students, I have to start a new 506, section number, whatever for you guys. So it just means I have to create essentially two different Canvas pages for this class.
Not like officially registered yet, they're still.
Oh, because they're still dealing with your paperwork. So maybe what I can do, I still want to put it on here, but just so everybody can get to it. I guess the only way I can do it is to email it to you. So let me put it on for these students here. And then while they're downloading it, I can send an email to you two that has the files. You're registered for the 305 class though, right? You're not a grad student, right?
No, I am like properly registered for the class. There's like financially.
Oh, okay. Okay, I gotcha. All right, hold on one second. Where we at? Fall, here we go. Control. So we need this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, so for those of you that have access to Canvas, download these 4 files. So yeah. I have your course and I have analysis, so it should be. Okay. The rest of you are okay to get to these files on Canvas? Oh, okay.
Did you upload them or?
Yeah, they're on Canvas now. I'm gonna pause the recording while I do this.